my first 12 days on the KetoVore diet. Now, what is that exactly? It's a combination of keto and carnivore. And I'm going to share with you my experience of the first 12 days of doing this dietary program, what I've learned, what I'm eating, and why I'm doing this. I'm Jackie Almer. Be sure to subscribe and grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com for recipes and tips on how to improve your health, your wellness, lose some weight, and live your best life. All right, so why am I doing this? First of all, if you've been on my channel before, you know that I so often say food is information. Now, we hear that food is medicine, yes, but it's also information. And so anytime we take food in, if we will pause and stop and just pay attention, we will find that our body gives us clues and signals as to how this food is assimilating and working within our body. Is it giving us the type of nutrients we need and desire? Is it upsetting in any way? And I am one that really has learned to become an intuitive eater, to pay attention to the clues that my body is giving me. All right, so just a couple of quick things that I'm going to be covering. I'm going to talk about macros, macronutrients, which are protein, fat, and carbs. And the reality of it is the human body does not need carbs. It absolutely does not require carbs to live fully and live a long time. But protein and fat, it absolutely needs. Your body will make carbs and the macronutrients and the things that are needed from carbs. But if you're going to try something like this, I'm going to recommend that you focus, because a lot of times you will hear what's the percentage of macronutrients. If you're new to this, don't worry about this. You don't want to start with this right away. But I focus on a 50, 30, 20. 50% of my daily intake is going to come from protein, 30% from healthy fats, and 20% from what I call slow carbs. All right. Now, women, if you're in the childbearing phase, you may want to adjust these to take that into consideration. Now, one of the reasons that I decided to do this, I didn't decide to do this to lose weight, but as I said, food is information, and I was starting to have some digestive concerns. Now, it was interesting when I was getting my functional and integrative nutrition coaching certifications. One of the modules that we went through, along with a lot of dietary theories, was one on the Ayurvedic diet. And one of the things that it mentioned for my particular body type, now let me just pause and say, I've never spent a whole lot of time studying this. I've been aware of it, but I didn't really do a lot of research or study on it. But I thought, I have to do this. I have to pass a test on it. I'm going to really commit to learning this. I'm a PETA body type. And one of the things that it stated in there is that cruciferous vegetables and a lot of raw vegetables, including leafy greens, quite often don't do well with the PETA body type. That was interesting to me because I was eating a lot of salads with spinach and kale and cabbage and all kinds of great raw vegetables. So I thought, I'm going to test this. So I had a big salad, or my average size salad, and then I paused and waited. I ate it, and then I set my watch to go off, my timer, in 20 minutes, and I paid attention. And I realized my stomach was kind of rumbling, growling. It was moving around. I could feel the digestive juices flowing in there. And I could feel myself kind of starting to get bloated and maybe even slightly uncomfortable. Then I checked in after an hour for sure. So what I learned is, wow, maybe this is true for me. And from that point on, I started eating a lot less raw vegetables and started lightly sauteing them just to break down some of what's in there, the starchy, fibrous stuff that was not settling well in my stomach. So that's what I'm going to encourage you to do with anything you eat. Eat it, pause, set a timer for 20 minutes, set a timer for 1 hour, 2 hours, and then pay attention to how you sleep that night. Remind yourself to check in the next morning on how you slept, and then any elimination issues you may be having. Are you constipated? Are you super gassy and bloated? Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you have diarrhea from your food? Again, all of this is information, and we often have a tendency to ignore that. But if we'll just stop for a moment, we can learn to be better intuitive eaters. So I was still beginning to notice some things though with certain vegetables and started realizing, I would get the growls, like the juices rumbling and everything. And in paying attention, if you've heard me talk about my seed recipe, which you can get right below, I love it. It's so healthy, filled with fiber, with chia seeds and hemp seeds and pumpkin and flax seeds and all kinds of great stuff. Um, but I wasn't entirely sure that my body was handling it well. And I'm still not. The jury is out, but I have eliminated it from my diet for now. So I thought, you know what? I've kind of wanted to try carnivore and really be more committed to a keto, paleo, carnivore kind of diet for a while because I've never really tested that on myself. And I'm a total body hacker. I like to test and try new things and see how they're going to work out. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to commit to 30 days and just see. And I planned ahead of time. What are those 30 days going to consist of? Well, I would like to, at the 31-day mark, to ease into carnivore more so and try that fully for 30 days. But one thing that I've learned from the studies and research that I've done is that you don't necessarily want to go cold turkey carnivore because it can really upset your body systems and your digestive system. So for me, the KetoVore, I was going to focus on no more than 20 to 50 grams of carbs maximum on a day and wean myself into this new way of eating to avoid what's called the keto flu and to avoid sometimes what people talk about as like explosive diarrhea. I didn't want any of that kind of thing or a major elimination flush. You can check my blog post listed below for what I'm going to be sharing with you also so that you understand some of this. So one of the things that I did though is I cut out all grains. I eat very few grains anyway, but I cut out rice, quinoa, beans, legumes, all types of grains. And for sure for these next 30 plus days, and then I can reevaluate and begin to slowly add things in and see how it does with my body. So focusing on those proteins, I focus on lamb, chicken, turkey, pork, beef, salmon, tuna, and other fishes. I like to use high quality, pasture raised, grass fed, wild caught is my preference. And I order a lot of mine from Butcher Box, which you'll find a link below. Doesn't cost you anymore. Yes, it's an affiliate link, but it gets you a discount and it gets me a discount off my next box as well. So if you can't buy organic or more humanely raised meats at this point, don't let that be a deterrent to you. That doesn't mean you can't do this, and it doesn't mean that you can't be successful. Now, another thing that I factored in along with those lean animal proteins are pasture-raised eggs, but any eggs will do, goat cheese, hard cheeses, and heavy cream. Now, I did dairy for 2 of the first 12 days, and then I've kind of cut it out because I just want to try some different things. I think my body might be negatively reacting to the cheese, but I'm just going to spend a week without it, another week without it, and then we'll see. And then in terms of fats, olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil or MCT, bacon and bacon drippings, especially if you get a high quality, antibiotic free, low sugar added type of bacon. I, again, use the one from Butcher Box and one from Costco, which works great. And then olives. Nuts on a very small scale, because again, kind of like the seeds, I'm testing these out. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's out there about plants, nuts, seeds, and oxalates, which I'll be doing another video on. And at my blog post, you can go and I'll do just kind of a quick little blurb about what that means. But essentially, every plant, every living thing has a natural defense system because its goal is to stay alive and not get eaten. And plants have that too. You've probably heard about lectins and oxalates possibly and that type thing. And those are those inner things. For instance, seeds and red peppers. You don't want to eat those because that's where a lot of the quote unquote poisons, not that it's going to poison us, but it's designed to make us not feel well so that we don't eat a lot of this. Now, let me just say as another disclaimer, it's easy to start watching a lot of YouTube videos and think, oh my gosh, I can't eat anything. Everything is slowly killing me. We're going to talk about how to moderate some of that and reduce those lectins, reduce those oxalates. For instance, soaking your quinoa, soaking your grains, soaking your nuts, and then dehydrating them, that's a great way to lower them. Cooking vegetables in an Instapot to reduce the lectins. There are definitely things that you can do. And again, if you test your own body, often when you eat and then you realize, wow, I have an upset stomach, that's probably, if it's plant-ish oriented, it's a lectin or an oxalate that's not agreeing with you. All right, so back to fats, nuts, seeds on a very limited basis, pasture-raised butter, grass-fed pasture-raised butter, tallow, ghee for sure. And then I cooked a duck not long ago and I saved all the fat and I I freeze it in little tiny containers. So I'm using a lot of that to cook with as well. So here's what my daily food plan currently up to day 12 consists of. I start the morning with just black or green tea. If I'm really hungry, which I almost never am, I'll add a teaspoon of MCT oil to that. It satiates me. I can literally feel it getting into my system. It stops the hunger pangs, and I can easily go another hour to 3 hours without eating. Then I'll often make my Fat Blaster Brain Booster coffee, which I am about to shoot a video on that. Hopefully by the time you see this, it might be linked below, my Fat Blaster Brain Booster coffee. But you can go to my website at peakperformancehabits.com and find that recipe. And then, so I will have my Fat Blaster Brain Booster coffee. That's essentially like Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Coffee, although I add some extra things, including collagen that has protein in it, cacao powder, and coconut cream, full on organic coconut cream and some water, because I don't really like coffee, to be honest, and then some cinnamon, different things. That has 6 grams of carbs in it right there. Okay, it has protein as well, but 6 grams of carbs. Then a few hours after that, I will have my late day breakfast / lunch. And right now I've been doing an egg scramble, which is 1 to 2 eggs, a third of a cup of ground meat or diced up chicken. I've been doing bison, lamb, and turkey for my ground up that I make my own sausage with just those ground meats. I add in all the other stuff that I want, or I will dice up some chicken that's already baked and scramble that in with my eggs. I was adding some goat cheese to that. That's the thing that I've taken out. And then I will slice up half an avocado. So essentially, in that particular meal, I'm getting 0 carbs, no carbs, because it's eggs, meat, animal protein, and avocado. There are probably a few carbs in avocado, but I think maybe the fiber offsets that. At most, it's 1 or 2 grams. And then I will have later in the day my dinner, which I typically try to close my eating window because I am an intermittent fasting. I have a whole playlist here on that. I like to close my eating window by 4 in the afternoon. That's when I typically eat dinner. Now, obviously, I break that if I need to, if we're out and about doing fun, social things, whatever. But that's what my goal is to stick to. You know how I talk about the 80-20 rule? 80% of the time, I stick to that. And so later in the day, again, I'm going to have somewhere around a third of a cup, roughly, of animal protein, maybe the other half of that avocado, or maybe some olives. And in this case, I might add in a slow carb, such as broccoli, red peppers, without the seeds, cauliflower, and then I will eat organic potatoes 2 to 3 times a week. My body does really well with potatoes. But when I say that, I buy the little ones, and I'm talking about just 3, or sometimes even 2, boiled, and then sliced up thin, and then sauteed in with whatever it is, whatever meat I'm eating. Some other ideas, maybe a burger patty and avocado, chicken and sauteed cabbage and olives. So you want to get creative because, again, my goal there is to keep my carbs to an absolute minimum, no more than 20 to 50 carbs throughout the day. And then I'm really focused on no snacking during that time. If you eat enough healthy protein and healthy fats, you will satiate your body and you will find it's super easy to go anywhere from 4 to 6 hours between meals. Now, one of the questions that's often asked about keto and carnivore is, what about fiber? Well, I have followed a number of people higher celebrity type people, as well as doctors on YouTube who have reported when they eat healthy and they go carnivore and they cut out all those ultra processed carbs, they don't have any problem with elimination, constipation, diarrhea, or any of that. So fiber becomes less of an issue when you're not overloading your body with ultra processed foods. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a doctor or a scientist. You can get all of my research and the data that I've compiled on this at citations.lowertoxiclife.com. Now, another question that comes up, yeah, like what about social time and alcohol? I'm just going to give you the quick facts on that. First of all, there are no known benefits to alcohol in terms of nutrition. Yes, we've heard about red wine and resveratrol, but if you really research that, you'll quickly find that the amount of wine you would have to consume to get the required amount of resveratrol, you would be under the table. But here's the reality of alcohol. An 8-ounce glass of white wine is 5 grams of carbs, typically. Tequila, on the other hand, has 0 carbs. And as long as you're not mixing it with some high fructose, crazy other beverage, you'll do better off. And then red wine, 8 ounces, has 6 grams of carbs. So those are just 3. I probably should have looked up beer. I didn't, but you can Google it and find out what that is. All right, so what questions do you have? Please leave them below. Do you have experiences with KetoVore, Carnivore, Keto, or any thoughts, recommendations that you have? Please leave them in the comments below, and I'm going to keep you updated on how this journey goes. Jackie Elmer, lowertoxiclife.com. Hop over there and grab my guide.